Hello. In this video, we'll be going over IRS Notice LP60, Information Request for a Deceased Taxpayer. So you might come across this notice if you're the personal representative or the executor of a recently deceased taxpayer. You're most likely going to find this in the decedent's mail. So pay attention to this. This notice basically means that the IRS is requesting specific information about this person so that the IRS can then resolve any tax account issues for the decedent. So let's go through this notice step by step. We're going to start with the upper right hand corner. So in the upper right hand corner, you'll see the notice number LP60. The notice date, in this case, it's January 28th, 2019. The IRS will assign a case reference number. This may be a number that you can use when you're talking to the IRS about this specific information request if you have any questions. And then there should be contact information in the form of phone numbers. In this case, a domestic and an international phone number. And then on the left-hand side over here is the taxpayer's name, should be the decedent. There may be a care of another person's name, address, city, state, and zip code. So I normally advise people to pay attention to the notice date because if the IRS requests for you to take a specific action, there may be a due date that's assigned that corresponds to the notice date. For example, there might be a request to provide information within 30 days, and that's the case in this particular case. So the other thing that I normally advise people to do, which may or may not be practical, is to make sure that your account information is up to date. So normally I would recommend that if the address of record is not current, then you should update your record with the IRS. You can do this by calling the IRS, validating your tax account, and then once you've verified your identity, you can change your address over the phone. You can also do it by filing a tax return, such as your annual 1040. You can also file either IRS Form 8822 as an individual or IRS Form 8822-B for a business. And that's the official change of address form that will allow the IRS to keep your tax records up to date. And the reason I usually stress this is because if the IRS sends a notice to the wrong address and there is a due date and there is an adverse consequence, such as the IRS will start the collections process, then the IRS assumes that they're sending your notification to the correct address, and it is the taxpayer's responsibility if for some reason that mail ends up spending extra time trying to catch up, like through the forwarding system. So to make sure that you have the maximum amount of time to respond to a notice, you should always keep your address up to date. With that said, it's probably a little bit more difficult when you're handling a decedent's affairs. If you have a case where you may be dealing with a protracted estate issue, you may want to make sure that you at least communicate to the IRS to make sure that the correspondence for the decedent's estate and affairs is going to the correct address. So you can contact the IRS and walk through the situation, or you can proceed through this notice to follow the steps that are indicated. And in this case, we'll find that there's primarily one action item that the IRS is really trying to get from you or whoever is in charge of handling the decedent's affairs. So there is a form. It's called IRS Form 15107, and the IRS is going to ask you as the representative to complete that form and then send it back to the IRS. So there's some additional information about this notice, about tax affairs for recently deceased individuals. We'll get to that momentarily. Let's go through the rest of the notice. So at the bottom of page 1, you should see a slip that you can detach. If you're filing IRS Form 15107, you have the mailing address for the IRS office on the slip. You should have the taxpayer's name and all of their pertinent information up here. It should reflect this right here. And you'll notice that the mailing address may be different from the address that's at the top of the form. So pay close attention to where you're addressing your mail so that you don't send it to the wrong location. So most of this is blank except for the enclosed Form 15107. So this is the official form that the IRS will send to request information such as death certificate, when the person passed away, who the personal representative is of that person's estate, questions about probate, anything that may help the IRS get to the point where they can close this person's account. So a little bit of background information about decedent taxpayers for the year in which a deceased taxpayer passes away. You can still file a tax return on their behalf as if they were alive. The IRS does give specific instructions on how to do that. So what we're going to do is go to the IRS website. We're going to search up this keyword deceased, and then we're going to go to the page that gives us a little bit more information. So the first search result here is filing the final income tax returns of a deceased person. There's a deceased person page specifically, that walks through some of those situations. There is a frequently asked questions, followed by another common tax form is a statement of person claiming a refund due to a deceased taxpayer. So that's IRS Form 1310, as well as other information, maybe less common circumstances, identity theft, selling real estate, things of that nature. But if you go to the top search result, you'll find step-by-step instructions on how to file income tax returns, the current year return, a prior year return. You can request a tax transcript to make sure that you understand, whether or not back taxes may be due from the decedent's estate, how to pay taxes, how to claim a refund. There's a lot of good information in here. Basically, to file the current year tax return, there are step-by-step instructions for the 1040, and then there's additional information in several IRS publications. So you can go to this page to learn how you would walk through that. Then there are also frequently asked questions that you can walk through. This is about a deceased tax professional, so that may not be pertinent to your specific situation, but let's take a look at the deceased person page. Again, a little bit of overlap, how to file a final tax return. So you can go through this to pick out the responsibilities that you may need to know a little bit more about. So let's go back to the notice itself. And the last thing that I'm going to do in this video is click the link for LP60. So the IRS, for most of their notices, publishes a dedicated page that contains similar information and maybe links to other resources that might be useful for you. So in this case, the website is pretty low key. There's not really any information in here that you didn't get in the notice. So we'll go back to the notice and we'll kind of close out on this note. So when you're handling the estate or the affairs of a deceased taxpayer and you come across this notice, you should complete the form 15107, and then you should also take advantage of the resources on the IRS website that will help you navigate some of the other tax issues that you may be facing. So we have written an article specifically about Form 107 or 15107. We'll put links in the show notes to that, as well as some of the other forms that were mentioned, such as IRS Form 1310, some of the other resources you may need to be able to get your arms around the tax issues of the person that you're taking care of their affairs for. So we'll put links to the articles and the videos that we've created about those different topics and forms. So if you like our articles, please feel free to subscribe to our newsletter. If you like our YouTube videos, please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you have any questions or comments, or if there's another topic that you'd like to see a video on, then please hit me up in the show notes. Thank you very much and have a great day.